Welcome to Avondale Sky Winery.
This is a story of risk, passion, and family. A story about rural life and community. A story about adapting to survive and learning to thrive. If you love wine, business, and the thrill of new ventures, then sit back and enjoy Avondale Sky Winery. This week we follow the Coutinho family as they guide the new venture through a global pandemic and turn it into an opportunity to grow and learn. It's a normal day at Avondale Sky Winery, and co-owner Sean is leading some guests in a tasting session.
Champagne, if you buy it, you know it's from Champagne, France, and Bordeaux is from Bordeaux. Tidal Bay, if you find it anywhere else in the world, you know it's from Nova Scotia, made with 100% Nova Scotian grapes. Stylistically, it's a crisp, clean, aromatic white wine. The main stipulants is it has to pair well with seafood. So if we're going to have a wine that represents us as a region, you want it to first of all we have to do it well, which is aromatic white wines. We do that superbly well in Nova Scotia, but also should go with our cuisine, which is a lot of beautiful seafood. So,
as Sean educates and entertains the group of tourists, it's hard to believe that only 2 years ago, the Coutinho family were brand new to the wine business. With roles divided between the 5 owners, Dad Louis is thriving.
I'm still learning, but what I am enjoying is the whole vineyard experience. The boys are focused on the enology side, the winemaking side and wine sales, and I'm really interested in the viticulture end of things, what's making these things grow, and so I'm enjoying that role as working with the viticulture people and with vineyard manager, and I take instructions from him, and I'm learning about pruning, and I'm learning about everything else that about growing vines and what are those that are actually suitable for our terroir.
In the first episode, we learned that just as the family took ownership and assumed responsibility of the winery, fate threw them and the entire planet a curveball.
We need you to continue to stay home. We need you to continue to do everything we can to flatten the curve.
Nova Scotia is not doing well when it comes to staying away from our parks and beaches. We don't need online graphs to tell us what we need to do. We need to stay the blazes home.
So as the world shut down, the winery became part of a tourism industry that could no longer operate. What would they do? Despite a thorough plan, this was new.
Well, 2 months after we bought it, it was like, oh man, one of my strengths that I brought to the table is just because of my past experience as the Chief Administrative Officer for Windsor, is risk management. So we went through all of the risks. We had like 5 major risks, and we said, oh, okay, these are the risks in this industry. How do we mitigate all of these risks? And so we went through the risk mitigation and said, okay, well, we're set. What we didn't plan on was risk management for a pandemic. It was like, oops. However, we're not the only ones in the world that had to find a way to manage the pandemic.
For Carl, they needed a clear vision if they wanted to navigate this new world.
Pandemic hit and everyone was told to stay home. You had to stop before you panicked, and you stopped and you look at what are you doing here? What are you trying to do? What is our business trying to do? Yes, we're trying to have great experiences. Yes, we're trying to host weddings, and yes, we're trying to have great restaurant and but we're trying to sell wine, right? If you lose sight of what we're trying to do, which is sell wine, then you're in the wrong business. So I said, okay, well, how do we sell wine? Well, we can sell it online.
And Sean's previous experience was about to prove invaluable.
I was a business advisor in my past life, as well as had an iced tea company. And so as a business advisor, I helped a lot of clients build their business from the ground up. And part of that was really learning Shopify and web applications, that sort of thing. So saw the opportunity. We're like, well, let's pivot to online and try and get this delivery thing going. So that was a quick flip for us. We were able to get that going March 19th, I think, and it was like the 17th that everything started to go on lockdown, and the 19th we're like, we'll deliver to your door with anything over a $50 order.
As a team, they realized they could cover local deliveries across different areas of Nova Scotia.
You know, I said I would do the HRM. My brother does around the Avondale area, which is expansive. Like, HRM sounds big, and it is big, but at least you can bang out a bunch of houses quickly, and where these you might have 15, 20 minutes in between deliveries. And my parents were going to do the Annapolis Valley. So that's how we did it. We just said, let's go at it, go hard, go fast.
It was actually really awesome. It was, as soon as we said that we could do it, then people were like, well, everyone was in a panic. No one wanted to leave their house, right? It was that time that no one wanted to go outside and risk it and be around people we didn't know what we didn't know, and what we knew was safe as our home. And so not having to leave your door and having the wine delivered to your door, that sort of thing, contactless delivery, was a safe bet and a way to enjoy your time at home.
We went from just the business we were into completely online, and that just took off.
Thankfully, people continued to indulge in alcohol throughout the pandemic and when they were locked at home. And at the same time, it's great for us that people were still enjoying it and supporting local, and gave us a chance for people that wouldn't necessarily come out to the winery, not for any other reason than, it's 40 minutes away, then I got to drive home. Now they were trying our product where they weren't trying it before. And all of a sudden they liked the wine. So now this summer and last summer, they started to come out to the winery. Oh, now I want to go out and see this place. And then we're getting the whole experience and helping it grow our stuff like our Sky Club membership and things like that. Because people now say, I've seen the people who own it. I've seen the people who operate it. I've tasted the wine and seen who makes it. And, the chances are they're one that they would order at a restaurant or maybe off a shelf at a liquor store. But certainly they continue to order from us online, which is great. So that was probably, if there was a blessing in the pandemic, I guess that was it. Because in a regular business plan model, I don't think we would have said, hey, how are we going to start delivering wine? It just wouldn't have been something that you'd think about.
So with a strong customer base and wine that needed delivering, as lockdown eased, Louis and Avila managed to turn doorstep deliveries into leisurely road trips.
My wife and I, because we are retired, we become the couriers for for our team. So the places like the South Shore, we go once a week and we take deliveries out there. It doesn't matter if it's just a handful, but we make an event of it because we're both retired. So we'll stop and have lunch at a place or stay overnight in a B&B and make a little holiday of it. So it's been fun.
So with on-site events cancelled and customers ordering online, the family focused on learning as much as possible about the operations and most importantly the wine. For Jamie, it was a silver lining.
So it let us really sink our teeth into it and learn and do all the things before we had to be customer facing. And it just gave us more time to plan and just the behind the scenes stuff in terms of sales and what we were going to carry in the winery, some small renovations to the winery, those sorts of things.
For Sean and his partner Mallory, the winery and lockdown changed the course of their lives.
It was, since there was so much to take on, it actually worked in our favor because we had more time to take it on, and it was a slower integration into what is reality.
We had planned to still live in Halifax and spend part of our time in Avondale, but then COVID started, so we were like, why would we rent an apartment in downtown Halifax when we can just go live on the vineyard? So we moved out to the vineyard. It was like a completely empty apartment, and we just slowly made it a home over the pandemic. And we fell in love with Avondale. It's such an amazing community of people that we never ever want to leave.
So now, living in the winery and surrounded by the new venture, it was time to take things to the next level.
I didn't know anything about wine before we got into this venture, or just before. So I've been doing a sommelier course through CAPS, Canadian Association of Professional Sommeliers. Learned a lot about so many different aspects, whether it's wine, winemaking, everything, and then even the restaurant and retail side of things. So it's been not even 2 years, but a lot of growth in that last little bit, for sure.
2 years later, Sean and Mallory are now blossoming experts.
We've gone from 0 to 100 when it comes to wine knowledge. We basically know all the wine regions in the world and what they're kind of about on a general level. There's so much more to learn. It's like our hobby now to pair wine with food, to try new wines we've never heard of. When we go to a restaurant and we order wine, we know whether, if we order the same glass of wine, we can tell whether our glasses of wine are from the same bottle or not. So if we both order a Cab Sauv and we taste both, we can tell if one of them's from a bottle that's been open a few days or if one's a freshly cracked bottle. So we've learned so much.
2 years later, there is a deep bond between all of the family and the wines they produce. In the old church building, Carl talks about each variety passionately.
So we've got a variety of whites, rosés, red, of course, sparkling wine, and then we also have some canned wine. So how we do our displays, we have all our whites together, and we usually go starting on the left side with our driest wines and kind of work our way to our sweetest wines on the right side. We do that so it's easy to explain to the customer because, we've got 30 different wines here. Some people come in and say, I like white. And it's like, well, now here's your spectrum of white. Some people come in and say, I like dry. And we say, okay, well, if you like dry, you're going to want to start on the left side of any of our cabinets. So we've got our rosés on one, our reds on another, our whites on a third. And then we it kind of helps to have the experience of saying, well, if I like dry whites, I might want to try these 2 or 3. Okay, well, let's get you a flight of wine so you can actually try them. And then in here, what we have is our Tidal Bay, which is obviously our Nova Scotia appellation wine. It's one of our more popular wines in Nova Scotia. There's 15 wineries that make it. You have to be a member of Wine Growers Nova Scotia. You have to pass an independent tasting panel, a blind tasting panel every year to make a Tidal Bay. It's a blended white wine, and it's really helped put Nova Scotia wine on the map. From there, you get to stem out and see what other stuff you can make. But our Tidal Bay in 2020 vintage is a blend of 5 different grapes: Lac-Qui Blanc, Frontenac Blanc, Vidal, Osceola Muscat, and Geisenheim. We'll go with the rosés next. Right now we've currently got 4 different rosés. We've got a Leon Malo, which is a dry rosé, and it works its way over to our sweet rosé. In between, we also have Lady Slipper, which is one of our more popular products. So our reds, Nova Scotia is not known for its red wine. It's certainly known, it's a cold climate, so it's known much more for white wines, sparkling wines, and we've been able to, you start to see a little bit more rosé because you've got the red grapes. It's like, well, let's not make too much red wine. We're not there yet. But we're getting there. And our winemaker, Ben Swetnam, has done a fabulous job with our red wines. We try not to have too many. There's numerous different vintages here that you'll see from 2010, 2012, 2015, 16, 17, right down to 2019. So different red wines, different grapes, some of them are blends, some of them are single grape varietals. Some are reserve wines. A reserve would mean it's usually aged in a barrel, whereas some are reds that are pressed every year and made every year. Ferry Road is one of our more popular red wines. It's a little bit more on the sweeter side versus the dry side. Something like a Newport is like a port. If you've had a port style wine, this is it. We just aren't allowed to call it port because we're not in Portugal. So we call it Newport Reserve because we are in Newport Landing. So we get away with it that way. My mom can also tell you a great story about from her childhood. She grew up in India, and port was something that, even the kids were allowed to have a little sip of.
Oh, I love port. So I grew up in Goa, which was a Portuguese colony in India. And even as a little child, maybe 4 years old, as far as I can remember, we would have, after Sunday dinner, the whole family would get, Mom and Dad, of course, had a reasonable sip. We were given a tiny little sip, and from that age, I enjoyed it. Now, I've been to Portugal many times, and my drink over there is port wine again. I come in here and I see we have Newport, and after tasting it, it is so close to the port wine that I've tasted in Portugal. So, yeah, it brings back memories. I think there are a lot of Europeans who enjoy port as well because of the Portuguese influence. To me, port is like going back to my favorite memories. It's one of those drinks that, you know, after a meal you want to, with the snow falling and you're looking out, you've got a blanket over you, the fireplace on, and you're sipping port. Nothing better than that feeling to warm the body up through the winter.
The family's growing personal connection with the wine has really helped Avondale build its Sky Club and exclusive small batch products.
So something like our Lady Slipper, as an example, is something that we would make what I would call mass production on, which would maybe, 5,000 to 10,000 bottles a year, because we're going to sell some, we're going to have some at liquor stores, we're going to have some at restaurants and so on. With something like a small lot, it is sort of what it sounds like. There's less made, so it's usually less than 1,000 bottles. And so they'll go to things like our Sky Club membership, which is our wine club here at Avondale Sky. And then from there, it's usually stuff that we're going to sell ourselves, meaning it's not going to probably be on restaurant menus elsewhere. It's not going to be at liquor stores. It's not going to be at private stores or anything like that. It's only going to be available at the winery, and it gives us that ability to say this is something special, so we like to save it for our valued members of our Sky Club, and then any other person who decides to visit us either online or here in person. I think people really enjoy that. I think people, I don't know if it's just the wine culture or people in general say, you know what, if I'm going to be a member of a club, what am I getting that other people aren't getting? Why do I want to be a member of anything if I don't get a benefit? And the benefit to them is, yeah, you get wines that we don't even release to the rest of the public. We'll do some lots that are like 200 bottles that are so low, they never even hit the shelves. They go to our membership. And that, I think, is that exclusive benefit that they feel. I mean, yeah, they save 10% on any purchases that they make as well. Like there is some little benefits like that. But, the way they're treated when they're here, complimentary desserts, complimentary wine tastings anytime they'd like those types of perks, really make them feel special. And they like to bring guests with them, which for us is great. It's like, hey, we have one Sky Club member, but they brought 8 friends with them today, right?
And with wine now in the blood of the Coutinho family, they've begun to innovate. Jamie knew the bottle designs needed further development.
That was a big thing for us, the labels. The old labels were dated, but they were also, it was very hard to distinguish between bottles because all of the reds had the exact same label and all of the whites had the exact same label. So not one particular wine was going to pop. And so we just wanted to make it a little bit younger, make it a little fresher, and make them pop. So we worked with Maritime Labels, with Kyle, and he was fantastic. We would kind of, throw around ideas, give him a rough idea of what we wanted, and we would go from there. So the first couple, we just used some stock images. And then we went to a friend of Sean's. She is an artist, and so she painted some watercolors for us. Again, we would just give her a rough idea of what we were looking for.
All the white wines look the same, all the red wines look the same, and then nothing was distinguishing. And when you can see how much wine we have, for people to remember what they had, we had to have some distinguishing factors. So you can see here with like our Tidal Bay, we've got that wave, sort of like a tidal wave and a play on that. So people might remember our Tidal Bay over another. As well, you'll see over on the reds, we have like the tractor for Ferry Road. We've got these clouds for Bliss, a beautiful scenery for Tenny Cape, things like that. The other piece that we wanted to do is on the back of the label is make it as user-friendly as possible, because some people don't drink wine on the regular. They're at the liquor store or they're at they need to pick something quick. This on the back will tell you about the varietal, what grapes are in there. It'll give you the tasting notes and sort of what sort of tastes your palate might pick up, and everyone's different. And then what it pairs well with. So again, if you're going to a friend's house for dinner, okay, they're having salmon. Well, what goes with salmon? With our Avondale Sky wines going forward, anytime you turn the bottle around, you'll see what it pairs best with, and hopefully that helps people make a decision for their dinner or maybe just their deck wine for the day.
And then for our small lots, because they're small lot, we wanted them to feel just special. There's not a ton of them produced. So for those labels, we went with numbered bottles. And so someone can grab the bottle of wine and say, oh my goodness, I have, number 99 of 250 or whatever it may be. So yeah, it was great. It's really fun. I think we all really enjoy that aspect, and we're working on some new labels now.
And those changes included putting their stamp on a new wine with hip-hop inspired branding.
The Notorious RED, that's our newest red wine.
I just bought a new way, spend a couple thousand just to cruise it.
My brother and I have always loved rap, and he's 9 years older than I am, so I am definitely influenced by like Bad Boy Records and like Biggie, Diddy, Mace. Like it takes it way back, and I was always, I guess, a little bit older than I was when it came to the music. So yeah, we realized our winemaker liked rap, which is great too. And we thought Notorious RED would be a fun sort of name. In the wine industry in general can be fairly dry and traditional in a lot of ways. And so we did it, even the label is a little different from our general listing other labels. Every winery, I think, is getting a little bit more and more fun and having some more fun with it. But sometimes that's not so easy because people associate like traditionalism with high class wine, and if you have too much fun, then maybe you're not serious enough with your winemaking. So you have to it's a delicate balance, a fine line where you can have some fun, still make a great product, and people can enjoy both the branding along with the wine and have confidence in what you're making. So
another innovation for the product lineup was adapting to new ways customers like to consume their wine.
Canned wine is it's probably a new trend. Lots of what's called the RTD, the ready to drink category, which I always find funny because everything's ready to drink anyway. But the way they talk about it is like the mixed drinks, right? So more people were buying seltzers and that sort of thing in a can. So a few years ago, canned wine started to come onto the market. And when we bought this business 2 years ago, there was no cans done by Avondale Sky. So we said, let's try it. And so we started with this one here, which is our Summer Sizzler Fizzy Rosé. We just did a small lot of it in 2020 just to try it out and see how it went. It sold very quickly and was quite successful. So we said, okay, next year, let's add a couple more brands to that. And that's when we added, you'll see here, Nirvana, which is one that we also sell in the bottle, and our Bliss Bubbly. And Bliss is also one of our more popular wines by the bottle. So we thought, let's leverage the fact that these are already wines that we have in the bottle. People will know what they're getting when they buy it, whereas the Summer Sizzler was a brand new brand altogether. And so this way, people who like it in the bottle, chances are you're going to like it in the can. And it serves the purpose of saying it's convenient. I'm not going to drink a whole bottle today. I'm going to so-and-so's house. I'm just going to take a can. The other part of it is it's a good entry level to say, hey, try this. You might like it. And if you like it, please buy it by the bottle. Then they become more readily available in stores. Restaurants as well starting to like carrying cans more than bottles because single serve, they don't have to open a whole bottle and maybe have wastage of a particular wine. So when they can buy it in a smaller lot and make their margin just on one can versus a whole bottle.
Seeing the growth, I think we've done a lot of changes, and that to me has been super rewarding. So whether it's from the painting outside to the shelves that I built from scratch for retail, to getting the mural done on about the story of the winery, I think that has been just super rewarding. Really, that's what I've always loved about business, is that autonomy. You set your mind and you get to make those decisions, and then you go and execute. And that to me is just, you can't put a price on that.
The risk and effort of innovation has all been worth it for the family, as the wine has seen some serious recognition.
This is our Sparkling Lacadie from 2015. And so this year, in 2021, it won the Lieutenant Governor's Award for Excellence in Nova Scotia Wines. So it was, I think 39 wines were submitted from 15 different wineries in Nova Scotia, and this was one of 4 winners. And those are about the same ratios you're going to see every year when these awards come up. So this was the 5th win for Avondale Sky, and I can show you some of the other awards towards this way. We've got 4 different awards. In 2019, we won the Lieutenant Governor's Award for Excellence in Nova Scotia Wines, which that's the same name for all of them, for our 2011 Blanc de Noir, which is a Brut Reserve. So that's like a Pinot Noir, a red grape that makes a white wine. So that, again, was a sparkling. In 2018 and in 2014, we won for an ice wine, a late harvest ice wine called Martok. Again, named for the ski hill that's nearby here. And in 2015, we won for our Tidal Bay. So the aforementioned Tidal Bay, which is the Nova Scotian appellation wine. That was in 2016 that we won that award. So it's nice that, it seems like we're getting them every 2 years or so, and we'd like to continue to see that trend happen going forward.
In the next episode, we learn about the wine-picking community and discover how nature can cause serious problems for Nova Scotia's wine growers.
Every year is a challenge, but you have no idea what that challenge is going to be when the year starts. Every year there's a completely different weather phenomenon.
If you'd like to know more about Avondale Sky Winery, visit avondalesky.com or search Avondale Sky on social media platforms.
This has been a Podstarter production.